Hi everybody. Can you all hear me? If somebody can just give me a quick sign to let me know that you can hear me. It would be great if somebody can confirm that you can hear us. I am just waiting for Chirag to join us. Thank you. Thank you to all of those who have connected in. Thanks, Saurabh. Thanks for confirming. I'm just waiting for Chirag. Hi Chirag, thanks for joining in. Please send me a request so that we both can start the conversation. Thank you everybody for joining in. Hi Chirag, how are you?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear me clearly? Chirag, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can. I think everybody can hear us now as well. And we have a lot of people who've joined in who are waiting to hear what you are going to share with us today. So
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and start the conversation before taking up any more time. I'll quickly introduce Chirag and RC Design Studio to everybody. Chirag Bardoliwala is an architect and interior designer who's been honing his skills for the last 19 years. It's a long time, but I'm sure you've perfected your skills by now. Uh, RC Design Studio is his individual foray in the field of design. He's been working with very reputed firms for many years before he started RC Design Studio. He's a perfectionist, and minute detailing is very close to his heart. A detailed approach to design and total involvement in all the projects that he undertakes from concept stage to the final handover is what his foray is. Chirag tends to blend his design abilities, and he also runs a retail outlet called the Design Artifacts, which is a comprehensive design solution for all interior related requirements. It caters to customized furniture and lighting as well. So thank you, Chirag, for joining us today.
Thank
At
you.
Influx, we are very glad that you are here to share your knowledge with us. And we are going to talk about trends, textures, and typologies. What is the role of stone in design today? So how we've structured this is we spend about 15 minutes talking about, and where you will share your insights and expertise with us. And maybe for about 10 minutes towards the end, we can take up a few questions from the audience. There are a lot of people
Yeah.
who sort of joined us today. So we'll take up some questions from them. So we all know that stone is a very relevant material, right? It's local, it's global yet local. It's a natural material. It's extremely sustainable. Uh, it has varied application. There's a lot of diversity. So, what do you think, according to you, are? I mean, of course, there's a lot we can sort of talk about, but I think pertinent to today's conversation, what do you think are the trends that are sort of relevant today when it comes to stone as a material?
Hi, Tanya. Tanya, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
No, because you know what? When you are speaking, I am getting a constant break in the conversation. That's why. You can hear me clearly?
Yeah, we can. I can hear you clearly. Is this better?
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So, see, Tanya, what we will address is we are addressing stone as a material. Stone
Yeah.
as a material which we are using in interiors, in architecture.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
let me just give you a little brief. Right from being a student of architecture when I started out, I visited a lot of buildings in India. You can say the palaces of Rajasthan or the temples. We go to Europe, we see the beautiful museums, we see the mansions. What you will see as an underlining material to all these historic monumental buildings is stone, and how effectively that stone is being used to bring out the beauty of that particular building. So that underlines the importance of stone there and then. It is a timeless material. It is a material that we have been using over centuries, and still people are not tired of it because people are finding out new ways or new methods of innovating and using the stone in a much better way as per what the technology is allowing us to do now. Firstly, stone is a natural material from the earth. It does not require any other additional man-made resources to create the stone.
Yeah.
So there and then you have a green technology coming in there. You are making a sustainable material. You are not polluting the environment in any way by using stone. We have been using stone right from our village houses to the beautiful temples that we have created all through history. And we have used it so beautifully. And we are still using stone in all our construction work, which is happening right now as far as interiors is concerned. But maybe the way of using the stone has changed over a period of time. Maybe we are using it in a more in a way that enhances the design in a different format, because now the trend, as what you were talking about, that we are getting into. See, first and foremost, let me define that trend to me is not like a trend or a fad, which is like the fashion of the day.
Absolutely.
Trend to me is in what direction are we headed towards now? What is the direction that design is going to be taking from your as we move ahead?
Right.
And this is a very relevant time that we are having this discussion, Tanya, because now that this COVID-19 has also affected us, and we have seen how much it has affected us.
Yeah.
So what I always maintain is that when I'm using stone as a material in my construction, for that matter be for flooring or for wall cladding or for whatever the case may be, I'm using some material which is going to be low on maintenance for my client. My client, once he puts up that material, they are rest assured that they are not going to be able to having to keep on readdressing that particular material for a long period of time and enjoy the beauty of it sitting in the surrounds of their house. When most of my clients come to me and say, Chirag, design us a house which is aesthetically stunning, because see, RC Design Studio does deal in the luxury segment of housing.
Sure.
But every client nowadays has this standard thing that the house has to be low maintenance. Nobody has the privilege now of having, except a few, an army of servants coming to clean up every nook and corner of the house. So that's when my role as a designer comes into play. I try to explain my client, oh, you're using stone. First and foremost, the biggest benefit is you just clean it up and it's going to be clean. You don't require to repaint that surface. You don't have to do anything. It's going to be timeless.
Right.
Now, see, just would you like me to ask, or should I continue?
No, so we do have some questions for you as well. So I think you very very pointedly sort of spoken about that there are no trends. Trends is what we define sort of here onwards.
Exactly.
But if you can also share a little bit about how does one sort of deal with stone as a material? You've spoken about maintenance, right? That's of course the fact that it's very easy to maintain is what gives it the biggest advantage. But what should one keep in mind when one uses stone, let's say for flooring or for walls, and and how does sort of stone demonstrate its versatility as per the different uses that we use stone for?
Fine. So see, what we do is, I'll explain to you as I generally explain to my client why they should go in for stone.
Yes.
Okay, so first and foremost, when you're looking at seamless surfaces which are high on reflection, I'm talking about marble. Stone, by stone, I'm referring to is marble, okay?
Right.
So when I'm suggesting to my client, okay, if you want more reflective surfaces, if you want more light to come into your space and reflect back, then the best option to do is to use a stone flooring in this case, a marble stone flooring. If I'm designing a house which is more on the rustic trend, then maybe I may be going for Indian stones like sandstones, limestones, slate stones. See, India has got a very, very rich variety of stones that come out from our mines as well.
Right.
Besides, obviously, the misconception being, oh, when you're talking about marble or when you're talking about stone, you're talking about Italian or you're talking about Turkish. Yes, we are. But we are also talking about a very large variety of stone which is coming out from our own country, which we have been now consciously trying to use up because these are very, very beautiful stones. So when we talk about flooring, for example, my only criteria to a client always is that remember, the last thing in the house that you will change is your flooring. People may change their furniture, people may change their decor. Every Diwali, they may throw away their curtains and put new curtains. But very rarely do you come upon a person and say, oh, ye Diwali, I'm going to change the flooring of my house.
Right.
So nobody is going to really get into it because it is a messy affair, it's an expensive affair. So what we try to teach the client or try to get their mindset to the fact is that even if you are spending an X amount of money in buying a good quality of stone, when we take stone, for example, as in a marble flooring, we insist that the client buys a minimum of 18 mm to 20 mm thick marble for the flooring so that it doesn't result in breakages at a later date, cracks do not come into the stone, and they will be able to utilize the maximum advantage of using that material in their house. So what we do is we emphasize that use good stone, good quality of stone. Now, getting into the final details of flooring, like some clients may say, oh, our preference is that we would like to go for a white flooring. Some may say we want a beige flooring. Some may say gray. Now, when you talk about the word trend, nowadays the trend is going more towards that let's use colors which have not been used before. Beige is too old. Let's get into the gray. Let's get into the exotic varieties of stones. But there too, there is a catch. But I always tell my clients is at least see the space where you are putting the stone first. People nowadays have this thing, we want to put a dark gray flooring in our house. But the dark gray flooring will work if you have enough of natural light also streaming inside the house. If you have a space which is as it is quite dark and you want to give it a flooring also which is very dark, then you'll have to live with that type of a scenario over a long period of time. You're not going to have a house which is bright and inviting. So what we do is in constant dialogues with the clients, we have realized that when we suggest flooring materials or cladding materials, apart from dealing only with stone, we also try to tell the client, think about all the other materials that are going to go into your house. What wood color are you going to use?
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What wood color are you going to use? What is going to be the final look of the furniture that you're going to put in? Because it is all an amalgamation and a blend of finally what is going to come out of this whole thing. When you're talking about wall cladding, 10 years back when I used to clad walls, I used to clad walls with beige color stone or some sort of a sandstone. And then people used to do some elaborate paintings or wall hangings on top of this. Nowadays, when you have got these beautiful granites and exotic stones which have come into the market, which are so richly colored. Like, for example, you have the Amazonites and you have got these quartz and, they're expensive stones.
Yeah.
So what we tell the client is why not make the stone as a piece of artwork? The stone substitutes the artwork in the house. The stone forms the backdrop, which would have initially been artwork. The stone is your statement.
Yeah.
So when the client says, okay, yes, we are going for this statement piece of stone, it could be one of those exotic granites, or it could be a semi-precious stone panel or something like that. Then when we choose the flooring for the house, we tell the client, now see, you have a very, very elaborate wall. Do you want to really go elaborate on the floor? Or do you want to keep the floor understated? You want to complement the bold cladding by a very neutral floor? Because see, everything can't be bold. There should be a harmony in the materials that you're going to use.
Absolutely.
So that's how So that's how we train the client's mindset. Because, when I just show any material to the client, the mindset is, oh, ye nahi, dusra dikhao. Ye nahi, tisra dikhao. They are not going to be satisfied. But when we put this together, okay, you see all the materials together. What am I trying to achieve? The look that I'm trying to create for you could be a plain beige marble is enough for that client on the floor when he has to accentuate everything else into the cladding. Also, another very important aspect that we have to understand, especially for Mumbai people, is that we have a paucity of space. We do not have very, very, very large houses, except, of course, a few of them. So whatever you put on the floor, once your furniture and your rugs come onto the floor, is not even seen.
Yeah.
So what I tell my clients, or what I try to explain to them, is spend that money in cladding your walls up with the more exotic variety of the stones. Spend that money in putting that material into your bathing spaces, for example. Because believe me, to convince a client to use a very expensive stone or marble for a bathroom, they will just, most of them are a little hesitant. They'll say, okay, why not use it into my floor than into my bathroom? But then the thing is, the floor is something that you're going to cover up with furniture. What you're going to be seeing in the 3 dimension are your walls. So might as well clad your walls with beautiful material which you can appreciate.
Yeah.
I have done bungalows where we have done the exterior cladding of the bungalows with travertine stone. Now, when you talk about travertine stone, to anybody, travertine is a material which has got a lot of holes in it. It's got a natural character to it.
Sure.
Most of our clients, when they are using travertine, for example, they will say, superb. अभी ये holes को क्या करेंगे, सब भर देंगे ना इसको. That is the criteria. We have to explain to them, no, this is the character of the stone. You are using the stone because this is the character of the stone. So that's how. So it is a tedious process, because see, finally a designer has to understand that I may have a full vision of the house before the house is done. But the client is a layman. He's like holding my finger, and I have to guide him through the whole process. So I have used. Yeah, sorry, you were saying?
Also, the responsibility actually lies on us as architects and designers to inform the client, right? That this is,
of course,
what your vision is, and we are going to help you translate that vision, and this is what it would be like. At the end of the day, while we can give them, okay, there is a catalog and this, we have to still inform them of the benefits of using stone. We have to inform them of the pros and cons of the different materials that are available. Even when, like you said, when it comes to stone, there's so many varieties. The onus is, of course, on us as designers. That's why they've hired us to sort of, tell them that, okay, guide them through this process. Like you very rightly said, handhold them through this process of identifying what is it that works for them.
So, what used to happen initially, like I'm talking about a few years back, the client used to go through a catalog and say, oh, I like this stone, I like this stone. I have stopped that practice completely. I tell the client, you come with me, you select the stone, yes. You see the live stone, because what you see in an image is not, it is a natural material. That is the beauty of the stone. Otherwise, you might as well end up buying a tile, which you can select from a catalog, because it's going to be standardized. It's the machine made product. This is something which is natural. So you come, you see what you are buying, what you are investing your money in, and then you take it forward from there. Another standard with clients is they come back to me and say, what would you design if this was your house? What would you like to put into this space? What color? I say, no. See, I am the designer. It is your house. You are going to live over a long period of time. So it's a big back and forth to make them understand this. Don't go with the trend. Don't listen to people when they say, oh, you're using beige, that's so old school. Use something which is really radical and different. Yeah. When people tell me that we want to use white, it is beautiful, it's pristine. But to lay a white marble and to maintain a white marble is a big task. So the client has to be doing this informed decision that he is going to invest a lot of time in maintaining that marble, because marble is not going to maintain itself. So, you know, what we are suggesting is these whites and the lighter colors, which are porous, the clients take the effort of sealing the marbles with a sealer after the marble is laid. So that, you know, the porosity of the marble at least gets blocked for a certain amount of time and it doesn't catch into anything that falls onto it. Because that's why one place where I tell clients not to use the same marble they use onto their floorings are generally the kitchen areas of the house. Because generally it is a heavy duty area, the servants are using it. See, in India, the kitchen is not what a kitchen you see in the US. Okay, there everybody is doing a dry cooking scenario, everybody is just working for themselves and they're moving out of the kitchen, everything is well maintained. Our kitchens are taken care of by mostly our Maharajas, our servants who are working in the kitchen actually. So use something which is a little more sturdy, probably use a granite, use a harder material. So even for kitchen countertops, we have been suggesting that clients go in for either a composite or they go in for a granite and avoid using marble as a material for surfaces that can easily catch porosity.
Right. Right. Okay, so I mean,
another thing is
very useful. Yeah. Sorry,
yeah. No. So you. No. So I was saying is another thing what people are doing nowadays is there's a lot of textures which have been introduced into stone. Like people are doing stone which is leather finish, stone which is sandblasted, stone where you have got different treatments which are being done to the stone to enhance the character of the stone. That too also you have to be very careful how you're going to use it. If you are going to use a sandblasted stone with open veins in a bathing area where you're going to shampoo yourself regularly and those shampoo suds are going to catch on to that surface, it is going to be really difficult to clean it. So your which space, what material is to be used is something that the architect and the designer has to guide the client. Otherwise, 2 years down the line, the standard is you had not told me that this is going to be the end result of it. So the house has to be timeless. The material has to endure. And the quality of stone is that it does endure very well. When you look at our beautiful temples, which are done in pristine white stone, they are so beautiful even till date because they are serving the purpose they are meant to do. If I introduce that same white marble into a kitchen, after 6 months, you will see haldi, you will see all the spices, the oil, everything is absorbed into that marble because we have not used the right material in the right space. So that is very important, where a role of a designer has to come, which I feel we have to tell our clients what is right and what is wrong, even if it doesn't match their sensibilities for the time being.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm actually going to pick your brains a little bit more on this last few points that you made. Could you actually share some examples of, for example, like you said, you know, for kitchen, you need a certain type of stone. For bathrooms, you need something that has low absorption and so on and so forth. Can you share some examples with us on what are the sort of good options when it comes to stone for different types of spaces?
Okay, so see, now when you talk about kitchens, for example, what we do is we try to tell the clients to use something which is more which is harder. So that for that example, you can use a lot of granites. You can use the darker variety of stones if you want to. See, that also depends on the usage of the clients. If it's a young couple and they say, no, we are not into this heavy duty cooking, both of us are working, we are just going to be like, coming in the evening and going to cook for an hour or so, you continue the same material which is there in my living room into the kitchen, which is a gray marble. I will say, okay, fine. I have done kitchens which have got a marble flooring. But if the lady of the house tells me, this kitchen is something which is going to be like heavy duty cooking, I'm going to make pickles in the kitchen and I'm going to do a lot of other ancillary work, then probably a composite marble. See, a composite marble is something which is induced with some artificially resins and all which are going to be filled in it, which decreases the porosity of the marble. So that is something that you can use for your floorings. The other option is that you could go for any of the Indian stones, because limestone is a very good stone to use. It's not that porous. Sandstone is very porous. So you can use some varieties of limestone that can come in. But limestone and sandstone, once again, the concept in people's mind is that is being rustic. That is not something which is really very modern and contemporary. That is a misconception which people have in their mind. So when we talk, we try to show them different ways. Like we have done beautiful floorings in which there is just polished kota on the floor, which is an easily available material everywhere in India. It's available freely. And we've laid that, and it's a beautiful contemporary house. For bathrooms, once again, we avoid using whites, avoid in the wet areas, because what happens is, as a material, it's tend to soak in that, it's going to take in the water, and you're going to see the watermarks till the water doesn't dry off. So if the client is okay with the fact that they are going to have those, or this keep regularly coating the marble, they seal the marble, because first 1 or 2 times the clients are very, very sincere and they say, okay, we are going to maintain it this way. Over a period of time, it does happen that they become a little lax. So generally what I do, Tanya, is when there are smaller spaces, like if it's a powder room, which generally nowadays all the houses in Bombay an apartment comes with a powder room, which is barely like a 6 by 3 space, a 6 feet by 3 feet space. I advise my clients just continue the same flooring which you have used in the living room into the powder room to make it look spacious. Okay, because what's going to happen is,
I'm sorry, just give me a second. I'm sorry. Sorry, disadvantages of working from home.
Wait, Mama.
That's, yeah. Yeah, sorry. We can continue right now. Yeah. I'm sorry. That was my son.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's
Please
fine.
continue. I'm really sorry about the disruption. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is we use colored marbles for bathrooms. Like we're using quite a few amazing marbles that have come into the market. Like they may be expensive, like those the azules and the colored variety. I don't know all the names by heart, but and we keep the base very neutral. Like we're using the normal beige marbles, which we've been using, like the Botticellinos and the Parlato Sicilias and all, which have been in the market for a very long time. Keeping the base very neutral, we are creating the highlights by using the accent walls as the feature walls of the bathroom. When you talk about a bathroom space, also in Bombay, most of our apartment bathrooms are 8 feet by 4 feet. You walk through the bathroom and the bathroom is over. Unless somebody has bought a bigger apartment where they have the space, the luxury to stand a little afar and admire that marble. So maybe sometimes what we're doing is we're using the same marble throughout the bathroom, on the floor, on the walls, everything. But what we are doing is on the walls, we are treating the marble a little differently by adding some grooves, by doing some designs by CNC cutting, at least in the dry areas of the bathroom. So it is the same material. To the eye, the color palette is the same, yet you are seeing the different textures of the marble come out in different ways within the same space. And it looks quite beautiful. I've done it on quite a few sites and it looks amazing. So that's one thing. Great. Now, for the living area, for the living areas of the house, for the living areas of the house, you can experiment a bit more. You can use your whites, you can use your beiges, you can use the grays, the different varieties that you are getting. Keeping in mind, as I told you before, is what your final look and outcome of the house is going to be. You cannot choose things in isolation. You cannot say, today I've chosen my floor is put up, then I'm going to choose what wood I'm going to use, then I'm going to get into what my wall finish is going to be. No. You create that mood board right from the beginning, you relate all your materials together, and then you can't go wrong. Then you are safe, your client is safe, they have visualized everything. Because nowadays, the biggest tool the client has in their hand is that they say, show me a 3D view of the house before even they get inside the house for the first time. Everybody wants to see a 3D view of how the house is going to look. So everybody, see that the visualization.
Yeah, a little bit off the topic. How are you sort of, how do you address this challenge of like today, we can't really sort of go and see stone. If you tell a client, I mean, especially in times of lockdown and everything else, where it's hard for somebody to go and look at the different varieties that are available. How are you addressing this challenge today?
See, I'll tell you what, this is we deal with a lot of NRI clients as well who don't stay in
Yeah,
India. They are staying abroad. We are doing their projects out here. So what we do is we try to generate a lot of 3D visuals in which we show them like an option A, an option B, and option C. But what
yeah,
we get into before we get into the 3D visuals is we do a total design of the house, because Tanya, nowadays what has been instrumental and driving most of the design in the market, unfortunately, is Pinterest. Because what people do is they just do a cut and paste of what they see as a reference into a 3D. So the mindset should be changed. We get onto the drawing board, we make the options, we make the 2D drawings first, we take the prerequisite time from the client, then we make a 3D presentation to them, and we tell them, okay, if your space is going to have a gray marble, then you may be going to use this veneer for the house. This is going to be the wallpaper. This is going to be the fabric palette of your house. Because what the client doesn't understand is they like a white floor, supposing. But the veneer they like is red mahogany. They don't marry together. You cannot put them together because it's not going to be a good design. The client doesn't understand that. They are just choosing things in isolation. That's why the 3D is helping us. We are trying to show them, okay, no, if you're using white, then maybe this is the color tone of the veneer that you need to take. Or if you are hell bent on using this particular veneer, then maybe white is not your preference. A beige flooring is something that you would relate more to in the longer run. And maybe it may bring a better picture out of the whole thing. Sorry, you were saying?
I was saying also today technology and there's virtual reality. There's so much happening that you can actually pretty much walk through the space even without having reached that level of design detail. You can design in a virtual environment today. I mean, I'm sure you're also aware of that, and that really changes the game, right? Because in time, I mean, for example, right now, social distancing is not going to sort of change, right? It's not going to be that easy to be able to go and see. And I mean, there will be clients who will say, but I want to see exactly how it looks like. So there we will have to, I mean, even at
we will have to.
We've taken that digital, and there is a lot that is happening in the digital domain now, where technology is helping architects like you and product suppliers to sort of collaborate and take things ahead. So yeah, I think we're actually living in a very interesting and dynamic world today. So
yeah, unfortunately, this trend has come up now. Means it was always there, but now it's become a necessity. I cannot just at the drop of the hat tell my client, "Okay, you come to site," because he's not going to come. I'll have to show him things which is in a virtual space.
Yes.
And probably, and then get it transferred onto site, or get it constructed for the client. So I think these are the times, this is the trend, you can say, that we should be getting into now, is trying to be more proficient as far as our drawings and our virtual imagery is concerned, so that our involvement on a physical level gets reduced at sites.
Right. Okay, so I think I'm mostly done with my questions. I would like you to give us. Actually, we'll come to the last words from you later. Let's see if there are any questions that people have here today from our audience, and we can sort of help them out. I'm just going to quickly read through these. We've spoken about stone varieties. People have also shared their feedback on what works and what doesn't work. How to protect marble. I think a lot of people have sort of welcomed you here, Chirag. Thank you so much for coming in. Somebody has asked why stones get untidy after a while. So what should they do?
You know what? This is a very interesting thing. Stones do get untidy after a while. Stones do tend to crack up a little. Stones do tend to catch some stains. But what I tell, we ourselves bathe regularly. We ourselves visit a parlor regularly or a salon regularly and make ourselves presentable. Just because a designer has made your house once that doesn't mean that after a year or 2 years or 3 years, you do not need to repolish your floor, or you do not need to take the trouble of getting the cracks filled up and get it done. This is not, a living organism can require maintenance. This is something which is an innate object. You have to maintain. I hats off to my clients, like whose houses I have done 10 years back. You enter that space and it's ready for a photo shoot today. And some clients have totally messed up the house. You don't know whether this is the same house that you have designed like 3 or 4 years back. So as a rule, I photograph all my house the day I hand it over, that I know this is how the house looked when I moved out of the house. Then I don't know what the client is going to do.
Maybe you can also.
So you have to maintain.
Yeah, you can also add a disclaimer that from here onwards, maintenance is yours. You've obviously done the best job possible, right?
Exactly.
Somebody else Saurabh has asked us that does thickness really matter?
Yes, thickness does matter as far as when you are talking about, see, thickness matters as I mentioned on the floor. You are taking an 18 mm or 20 mm stone, so you are rest assured that your flooring has got a good thickness which will withstand any impact or regular movement of things on it. Also, when you're doing on a wall cladding, generally you can take a thinner stone, but if you're going to get your stone treated, like we are doing a lot of treatment on our stones, like we are getting the CNC cutting machines to make designs on the stone nowadays.
Yeah.
Those require specific thickness. You cannot work on the normal thin 16 mm slabs. They're all going to crack in the machine. So you nowadays, see, it may, like there are effects which is like a crushed paper. We have taken Satwario marble and we have created an effect on the wall as if it's a paper which has been crushed and put up onto the wall. The marble, see, stone is a beautiful material. If you have the good craftsman to take your stone up, it can be turned into magic. So the thickness of the stone is very, very important. A stone can make a space look masculine. It can make a space look extremely feminine. It can make it look classical. It can make it look contemporary. It's how you treat the stone. And the thicker the stone you have got more scope to work on that stone. That is the only reason why thicker stones are.
That's a big advantage, yes. Another question we have from Arohan, sorry. With the new trend of stones like tiles in the market, how do you see market changes in the future?
See, tiles have always been there in the market. Okay, it's not that, yeah, there are a lot of tiles that have come into the market now, but my point of argument always lies on this fact that whatever is a natural material, the way it behaves, the type of variation you get, a tile cannot duplicate that. And one very another thing which I have noticed on all my sites is that when you lay a tile, and if the tile scratches, then you have to replace the tile. A tile cannot be repolished, but a stone, if it scratches or it cracks, or when we lay stone on a dining table, you just repolish it after a period of time. It is as good as new.
Yeah.
So that versatility of material, yeah, it is easier to work with a tile. You don't have to polish it. It is quicker to lay, but you have to think about the long run also. That finally it is something which is artificial. It is something which is synthetic. So even when I use tiles for my projects, I never use tiles which can substitute a marble. You either use something which is natural, or you use something which has got no. You cannot say I want a Satwario looking tile. Sorry.
To use it for what it is. Yeah.
Use it for what it is. Take these beautiful leather finish tiles or these nice tiles which are self designs. Yes, the market is big. But let's not get into making it look gimmicky. Let's give material its due respect and importance.
No pretense needed.
No pretense.
Yeah. Somebody else has asked that do you suggest composite marble in exteriors?
Composite marble is a good option to use in exteriors. Yes, but to lay that composite marble is a challenge. Like you have to be very sure of how we are going to lay that composite marble. So what we have done is when we have done cladding in building facades and all that, you will have to go for a system which is known as a dry cladding. To a layman, a dry cladding system, how is a marble fixed? The conception is that you will take cement and you will just take the thing and stick it onto the wall. But that's not what is going to work in an exterior facade. In an exterior facade, there is going to be a lot of expansion, there is going to be a lot of contraction. So over a period of time, what you will see is when you wet clad something onto a surface, that surface is just going to fall down. It's just going to leave the back substrate and it's just going to rip off. So what we do is we leave grooves in between the panels. Panels are done to a certain size, which is a workable size as per your grid. A certain thickness has to be established of that stone which you're putting in. And then you take the dry mechanism, which is an actual elaborate system, which goes like, it can be a tongue and groove, or it can have a system where dowels are fitted onto the wall first, and then you clamp your marble and you hang your marble onto it. Yes, and then you can clad buildings up to 15 floors, 16 floors. The skyscrapers which you see when you visit New York, some of them are beautifully clad in stone, but there's a way to do it. You cannot just say, okay, we are going to just stick stone onto the walls. It's not going to last. I have clad my ceilings in marble. So, and they stay for years too.
Yeah, of course.
So
somebody else has asked, Prerna has asked us, can you explain which cladding in stone can be used, which would be sustainable and luxurious?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Explain? Yeah, Prerna is asking, can you explain which stone can be used that is sustainable and luxurious?
See, as I mentioned right at the beginning of my whole presentation, is that if you are using marble in its natural form, it is sustainable. Okay, now luxury is something which each individual defines for themselves. Like to you or to a client, an onyx marble, you know what is an onyx marble, right? An onyx marble is a marble to which light comes through. To be very honest, and I know I'm on an A-class presentation, onyx marble is not what I define as luxury. Okay, I tend to go lean more towards marble which have got a natural grain to it, marble which has got a different color tone to it, as which can substitute art, like it's a fusion of 2-3 colors in it. To me, that is more luxurious, which I can light it up from the front. So luxury and sustainability is there in the material. What is your perception of that luxury, or what you want to use, or what that particular space demands is what is going to define that luxury for that particular space.
Thank you. That's a very good point. I think Studio 1824 is asking, what are the good options for stone flooring for balconies, parkings, and verandas? Many a times, rough finished stones tend to get a little whitish due to water.
Yes, they do. I also mentioned this fact, you have to be very careful on what finishing you're doing to your stone when you're laying them exposed to the elements. Like initially in my earlier days when I used to make bungalows in Alibag, we used to go for this sandblasted granite.
Right.
Now what happens in sandblasted granite is, since it is open and there are bird droppings and all which come onto it, it's very, very difficult to maintain. The client used to always be complaining, my servants are whole day at it, they're just cleaning and cleaning and cleaning. And also in outdoor spaces, it tends to catch fungus, the moss which comes up during monsoons. It makes it very slippery. So nowadays what has happened is there are different things. There is this leather technique, or there is this something which is just finely honing the marble so that it gets a little anti-skid, or the stone for that matter, not marble, stone. So for an exterior application like driveways and all, you can consider using the granites which we have. There are some beautiful granites that you get, but you can't use a granite in its natural form. Otherwise, your cars are going to skid in the monsoon. You're going to have to do some sort of a honing to it, or some sort of a treatment to it, which is going to make it a little abrasive. Also, what helps is grooves. Leave a lot of grooves in the stone that you're laying. Lay the stone at smaller pieces in an exterior surface. Do not lay very large pieces in an exterior, because the more number of grooves you introduce, the lesser the chances of you skidding. So granite is a very good option for the outside, for balconies. Limestones are very good. Slate is very good, though slate tends to flake over a period of time, but it is very, very hardy. You can use it and be rest assured it's going to look very, very beautiful.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And I think Rishabh has a question about alternatives to Italian marble. I think we've already discussed. You've actually answered. You've given a lot of alternatives to people. Uh, there's one last question that I'm going to take before we sort of close the session. Is that if someone, this question we've just, should we use adhesives for fixing the marble on the floor?
Adhesives to stick the marble on the floor? No, means I wouldn't recommend it. See, when you're laying a marble, it is you're going to lay it on a bare substrate. Nobody's going to tile their floor and lay the marble on top like how you would do for a wooden flooring. You require a substrate, you take an adhesive and you put it on top of that. So when you're laying it on the floor, you are going to lay it with the cement, the sand. The very important constituent is what sand you are using. The river sand is what is supposed to be used to get the optimum result. If you're using white marble, you have to see to it the marble is coated in the front, it is coated at the back, and you use cement for white marble. You don't use a normal gray cement for white marble, otherwise it starts showing from the marble. But no, adhesives I would not recommend for a floor application.
Okay.
Wall applications, yes, we do use dry cladding onto the walls, which happens on partitions and all that, but not on the floor.
Okay, sorry, one more question. This will be the last one. I think Kala 2184 is asking, can we use composite marble in the exteriors? You know, on flooring of verandas and sit-outs, etc.
Again, it has to be treated. And composite marbles, unfortunately, generally what I've seen is they all come in the lighter variants. So over a period of time, if getting dirty is your concern, that it's going to catch on to a lot of dust and all, yes, that could be an issue. But it is used. I myself have used composite marble. When you hone it nicely, you lay it in strip formats with a lot of grooves inside and all, it does look beautiful and can be maintained as well. Yes.
Okay, great. Arohan had another question about virtual reality. Will it be possible to shortlist marbles through live video streaming during these times? I'm sure it's possible. I think
Yeah, it is.
everybody, there is a lot that is happening in the digital world. So I think we all
It
just
is
need
possible.
5 years open. Chirag, I would request you to just share some last words. We are following the hashtag of for the love of design. So what is your, sort of design tip for anybody who's working with stone for the love of design?
Okay. For the love of design, if you're using stone, you have by far the most versatile material you are dealing with in your hands. So, as I mentioned, you can create anything out of that stone. You can create filigree work out of the stone. You can create panels out of the stone. You can create flooring. It's like, it is like the most versatile material that you get to use. So use it to its optimum. Respect the material that you're using is the word that I would like to emphasize on. Do not vandalize the material. Respect the material, give it its due space, give it the right treatment, and you will have a friend for a lifetime as far as stone is concerned. Trust me.
What a wonderful note to end on. Stones are your friends for a lifetime. Thank you so much, Chirag. It's been a real pleasure
Thank you.
talking to you. I think the
Thank
session
you.
was very insightful. We've got a really good feedback while we were talking about this. A lot of people have said that this has been very insightful. So thank you so much for kicking off this series for A Class. We look forward
Oh, I
to
was the first.
the future.
Was
Yes,
I the
thank you.
first? Okay.
Yes, this
Thank
is
you.
the
Thank you
first.
very much.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would also request everybody else to stay tuned in. We'll be coming back next week with more sessions for you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks a lot.